All right, so today we're going to talk about what it really takes to get ready for a profound spiritual journey. And here's the thing, it doesn't start with some big dramatic gesture. Nope. It starts with a first step that's, well, it's pretty surprising actually.
So let's say you're about to take on a massive challenge, something that's going to require some serious discipline. Think about the 40-day Great Lent fast. How would you even begin to prepare for that? What's step one?
Well, you might want to sit down for this because the answer is a full week of no fasting whatsoever. Not even on the regular days. Kind of wild, right? It's a total paradox. To get ready for this intense fast, you start by not fasting. Now, this isn't about, fattening up before the big fast. That's not the point at all. The real reason is so much deeper. It's all about getting our minds and our hearts in the right place to really zero in on the single most important thing we need to understand before we even begin. When you think of serious spiritual discipline, your mind probably jumps to these absolute legends of the faith, right? People known for their insane ascetic practices. But here's what's so interesting. The church, in its wisdom, doesn't start us off with them. Not at all. It points us in a completely different direction. And this is where we find the key to that whole paradox. The very first role model we're given, it isn't some super saint famous for fasting. It's a sinner, a tax collector who, let's be honest, probably didn't fast at all. That's the first lesson. That's what we have to get our heads around before anything else. So to really get why this is the starting point, we've got to dive into a story from the Gospels. It's a short little parable, but it's the key that unlocks this whole counterintuitive idea. So let's break it down. Okay, the scene is simple. You've got two guys who walk into the temple to pray. The first guy, he's a Pharisee. Think of him as part of the religious elite. Super strict, outwardly devout, the guy everyone looks up to. And the second guy, a publican, a tax collector. Basically a person everyone despised back then, seen as a corrupt sinner. So the Pharisee stands up, all proud, and starts to pray. But really, his prayer is all about, well, himself. He's basically listing off his spiritual resume for God. I fast twice a week, I give my tithes. He's telling God how awesome he is, and get this, he even thanks God that he's not a mess like that sinner in the corner. And then you've got the publican. He's standing way in the back. He can't even bring himself to look up to heaven. All he does is beat his chest and say this one simple, powerful thing. He's not listing accomplishments. He has none to list. All he has is a gut-wrenchingly honest admission of his own failure. And this is where the story flips everything on its head. The outcome is the whole point. Jesus says it was the humble tax collector, not the proud Pharisee, who went home justified before God. The lesson? God wasn't interested in their spiritual resumes. He was looking at the posture of their hearts. So there it is. The first lesson of the fast is all about humility. Before we can even think about improving ourselves, we first have to see ourselves for who we really are. Humility is the absolute foundation. Without it, everything else we do, it's just a performance.
So what is humility then? Well, this definition uses some really powerful imagery from another famous parable. It's the ability to see our true state, to be completely honest with ourselves and realize we're on our knees at the pig trough of sin. It's that rock-bottom moment of clarity when you just know you're lost and you need help.
And not awareness, that's what kicks off the journey home. Step 1, you see where you really are. Step 2, you come to your senses, you make a real decision to change. And step 3, you start running back to the Father's house. But it all, every single time, starts with that moment of brutal honesty with yourself. All right, so now that we've laid that foundation of humility, we can finally talk about the real purpose of fasting. And trust me, it's so much more than just skipping a meal or changing your diet. And this is a really important distinction to make. Fasting, it's not a diet. It's not the ultimate goal. What it is medicine. It's a tool, a powerful tool, that's designed to help us grow in that one thing we've been talking about, humility. The Apostle Paul really puts this into perspective. He says, food's for the stomach and the stomach for foods, but God will destroy both it and them. In other words, the physical stuff, the food, our bodies, it's all temporary. It's secondary. The real focus has to be on what's eternal, the state of our soul, not what's on our plate. So here's the true goal boiled down. We fast to get a better handle on our passions, to take back control. It's a physical practice with a spiritual purpose, to give us a much clearer, more honest look at our own fallen state. Which, brings us right back to where we started. The first step, the most important step, is always inward. We have to flee from that pride, that vaunting of the Pharisee, because the biggest danger is becoming proud of our own efforts.
Just think about these images for a second. How much good is it to brag about not using oil in your food if your heart is totally missing the oil of forgiveness? Or what's the point of eating tiny meals if your pride is just overflowing like a horn of plenty? It's so easy for pride to sneak in and poison our best efforts.
And really, this is the final takeaway. The whole journey is summed up right here. He who exalts himself shall be humbled. The way up is down. We have to humble ourselves, make the publican's prayer our own, and just cry out, God, be merciful to us sinners. That's the starting line and the finish line.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. In our own lives, in our own attempts at self-improvement, whether it's at the gym, at work, whatever, when do we become the Pharisee? When do we start looking down on others, feeling pretty good about our own progress? It's a question worth asking for sure.